ago, today, in the early part of January of 2025, I made a video called I Predicted Everything That Will Happen in 2025. And there's a picture of me in front of a corkboard with Donald J. Trump and Elon Musk and Xi Jinping and nuclear and soda. And so we're gonna re-watch this video and we are going to check and review, because if you remember, why predict? The answer, my friends, is chicken sexing. That chicken sexing, no further discussion needed. The idea that practicing something, guessing basically with your best intuition that you can, and then checking and reviewing and being honest about it is a way to build up that skill, to improve your ability to understand the trends that happen in your own life. And I want to look at these predictions with a serious lens. I want to take a look and see like what I got right, and more importantly, what I got wrong, what I can learn from that. I think that's an important and interesting aspect of this whole process. And so let's begin. Let's just jump in with the first prediction. It's time for our first thing. 2025 is going to be the year of Donald Trump. Whether we like it or not, this man is going to be the most important figure by far in the year 2025. And we don't like it. Just to be fucking clear, we don't like it. I don't know. I personally don't like it, but just something I felt like saying. But yes, I mean, you know, kind of an easy bink. I mean, he's the US president, but my God, let me show you some stats here before we move on in this video. Donald J. Trump, in his first year in office, signed an absolute litany of executive orders that did massive, massive changes and shake the very foundation of established relationships within and outside the US, economic ties, massive changes all over American society. He has signed more executive orders in this part of year one than he did in the entire 4 years of his first term. He has already passed his first term entirely, including COVID. There's been dramatic changes, well above Biden, Obama first, and Obama second. So, and you know, many of these have been challenged in court or currently being fought in the courts. But even if some of them are struck down by the courts, that's a massive change. What he's done on tariffs alone has made so much of the year entirely about him. It's one of the major economic stories of the year, the way it's shaped trade with the US. And if that gets struck down, it's almost an even bigger story because of the amount that's gonna cause with the previous deal making and the refunds. So a pretty big deal, but let's go back to the video. Microsoft, Google, Adobe, all giving $1 million each to the Trump inauguration fund. Mark Zuckerberg dropped $1 million to the Trump fund. Phrasing might be off, but everybody's coming.
Jeff Bezos came, Bill Gates came, Mark Zuckerberg came.
It's a regular orgy. Even foreign leaders are desperately jockeying to get an invite. The entire, by the way, I mean, that is a important observation. That was the big story of this year, was corporations and their leaders kind of bending over backwards to praise and give gifts and show lip service to Donald Trump because of his ability to issue executive orders that could harm or help their company. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg in particular, I don't think it's mentioned here, but Mark Zuckerberg, you know, after this, put on a fucking chain and went on Joe Rogan and started talking about masculinity. Mark Zuckerberg saw the writing on the wall and went all fucking in, dude. He became everything he thought he needed to be to get Trump's approval. My prediction is that in 2025 on economics, where Trump was pretty popular during the election, he was considered the better candidate for the economy, I predict the shine will come off. So I'm in California where egg price. Story of the fucking year. Yep. On the economy, I think in 2025, the approval rating of Trump drops pretty dramatically. Oh, god damn. All right, this is like probably my favorite prediction from the whole fucking thing, because I know people always discount predictions based on the mood at the time you're looking back at them. But the mood at that time, my God, it was like he's about to fucking save America, especially the economy. People were like, you know what? He might suck on other stuff, but he's going to be good in the economy. Now, I don't like my prediction so much on geopolitics. This is an article from today. Trump ends 2025 with worse approval ratings than this point in his first term and Biden's. Americans' dissatisfaction with the direction of the U.S. plummet since he was inaugurated. And if you look at the reasoning behind this, if you look at the thing that's the one issue that is dragging down his approval more than anything else, it is the economy. People have felt very, very frustrated with Donald Trump's economy. What they thought would happen has not happened. They are noticing prices still rising faster than their wages. They are noticing housing still out of reach. They're noticing job losses increasing. The impact of the tariffs is felt. The lack of any sort of cohesive regulation around AI, youth unemployment way up. And all of these things are leading to people getting more and more dissatisfied with Trump under Trump's economy. And that has been, I think, a massive story this year, and it's going to lead to big changes in 2026. But there's a second part here, and that's what I would rather talk about. Elon Musk has had a rough start to January.
How much do you think we can rip out of this
I love
wasted
this.
$6.5
favorite
trillion
clips.
Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Dude, it's just so funny because our budget is 6.5 trillion right now. And next year with the BBB, it's worse. And my prediction is that nothing gets cut. Yep. I think our deficit's going to be essentially the same, unchanged in 2025 as it was 2024. We're still going to run about 6.5%. I think economically, it's going to be bad news. People have their hopes up. Geopolitically, it's a different situation. The war in Ukraine has become a true nightmare for all parties involved. Russia would love for this to finally be over, though they are winning. And because they're winning, it's also a deep problem for Ukraine. Zelensky is running out of men. They are trying to lower the draft age. Dude, it's crazy. I don't disagree with what I'm saying here, but flash forward a year and I think all that stuff is like the same. I guess one thing, first of all, I want to talk about Ukraine is that I've made this mistake in general. I want things to happen quicker than they do in real life. That's just like, you can say, damn, auto loan defaults are rising. And it's like, implicitly, you're like, wow, I bet all the auto loan companies are going to crash. But really all that means is like, that is going to get worse. That is a trend line that is getting worse and will be, and is a problem, is going to continue to be a problem. People can stretch this shit out forever. If people want power, want to push things out. So I always need to give myself some patience on this stuff. Because I think I predict that Donald Trump, because it was his #1 day one promise, that he was going to find a way to end this war, likely by giving a lot of concessions to Putin. And what I didn't understand, #1, is that I think Donald Trump was a really terrible negotiator in general. But #2, I overestimated the amount of influence the United States, like I thought they were basically funding the entire Ukraine war effort and could just sort of tell them to set the demands. But Ukraine is willing and able to keep up the fight, even with, it's harder. It's almost impossible without US support, but they were willing and able, at least in this year. And also, I think I underestimated whatever it is. I don't fully understand fucking Putin. Maybe he has a fear of this not going perfectly, and so it's bad for him politically at home. Or maybe he has insatiable fucking greed that he needs. Whatever it is, Putin has a willingness to ride this shit into the ground. Even though it is causing material and serious economic harm to Russia, he's willing to ride this shit. So all things I learned this year as I read more about this, and I think I would have a different look at this now. Donald Trump, he has a goal in mind. He wants one thing. This is true. This was true.
I just think that
I happen to think he will be successful. My prediction is that in 2025, the war in Ukraine ends. And I do think dead wrong, F. And I thought about this a lot. I totally misjudged all those things I said. But specifically, I think the most important was that Zelensky and Ukraine can and will keep this fight up, even if the U.S. pulls support. And I was like, the U.S. support is so important because of the financial aspect of it. But they'll just do it with Europe. I mean, that is something I learned this year and changed my mind. And by the way, that is one reason that I'm like, damn, will this even end in 26? Do you know what I'm saying? Because the fog of war is so thick, I don't know. I can't tell. I mean, it does feel like slowly but steadily, Russia continues to make ground, but it's tough, man. I don't know. The same thing is happening. A Gaza ceasefire deal is gaining momentum. These articles are from today and yesterday. Some of it. So yeah, the Gaza ceasefire deal happened, but my God, it's had like 960 violations from the Israel side, if you must know. That means the piece of paper is not really worth what it's written on. So they still, like, Trump still claims that they're in a ceasefire. Israel still comes to they're in a ceasefire, but the amount of violations is absurd. So there really is not much progress on this either, in name only. I do think maybe if he'd accomplished that ceasefire early on in his term and a ceasefire in Russia, he probably still could have won the Nobel Prize. It would be very shambolic. That is, of course, unless Dark Trump shows up. Dark Trump has noticed that America has not expanded its territory since 1947. And Dark Trump has been posting nonstop about annexing our northern ally Canada into the 51st state. Shout outs to Carney, by the way. I really think this type of dialogue stopped completely. There is a strategic reason for caring about expanding American territory. And that reason is, if he is aware that his economic plans are going to be more unpopular, if Wait, he's you're spitting. noticing plummeting favorability,
You're
there
spitting.
is one guaranteed way in human history to get your popularity up, and that is to expand territory in a quick and easy battle. If it's long, if it's drawn out, people hate it. Wait a minute, you might be spitting, H-Rock, because his approval ratings on the economy are at all-time low, and he's facing terrible favorability. And then exactly 4 days ago, Trump revisits taking over Greenland. He went back to it. Trump is talking about Greenland again. It once looked eccentric, now it seems like the distillation of his whole foreign policy. Trump says the US has to have Greenland. He said this fucking December 22nd. And Europe's kind of wondering about it. Like, Trump says Greenland is essential for security because they by force. Trump's latest comments have prompted diplomatic protests from Denmark over sovereignty concerns. This is all happening again right now, right as, you know, again, his popularity is declining quite precipitously. Not that I'm happy about this prediction, but I do think he's going to lean into it. So the next prediction I make is about 3 elections coming up. And obviously, like at the time, Trudeau was still in power. And so the obvious thing to do, because there was fuck Trudeau signs all over Canada, is like, all right, Trudeau's going to lose. His party's going to lose. I really think this is one, and this is where I'm kind of mad at myself. I think if I'd thought about it more and thought about the consequences of Trump and the tariffs he was going to do on Canada and the constant threats about sovereignty, I think I should have impacted that it would have changed the election more than it did, which it did. And it led to Mark Carney winning. I obviously didn't know Mark Carney at the time, but I think that would have been a really strong prediction. The approval rating of him and his party is in the dirt. Pierre Poilievre prediction will be the next prime minister of Canada. Very obvious, I think. Less obvious Not that is in obvious. Australia, where Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton are in a neck-and-neck race to see who's more hated. I looked into Australia's politics, and it turns out Australians fucking hate politics. They hate
True.
both their parties. They are so disengaged and so mad that I almost thought that the incumbents getting thrown out system might not work because they hate both sides. However,
Trust your instinct. Trust your instinct.
I think because of that, all that hate really only works to help the outsider. And the
No.
outsider in this case is Dutton, who I predict will again win.
So I did these 3 in the, I mean, the Australian one was more complicated. And I kind of mentioned that here. I did these 3 in the wrong order because the order they happened in real life was the German one first, which I got right because it was before Trump got, was like the first one of Trump's term. And the next 2 happened after his tariff policy had been rolled out. That and his general fucking attitude had key shifts. Like they caused shifts in how allies treated these MAGA-light movements and how they treated their relationship with America and how these parties like Dutton, again, there was more going on. I'm thinking more of the Pierre Poilievre one, but like the ones that are like MAGA light for Canada no longer seemed as appealing when Donald Trump was literally openly talking about 51st state. And so it shifted the narrative. I think that would have been a good thing to mention here. It would be a tough prediction to make, but I think it would have been a good thing to mention. So upon review, obviously these are both dead wrong on how the elections played out.
In Germany, Olaf Scholz
This one
had a
worked out.
badass eye patch. Then he got rid of it, and his approval rating dropped. Coincidence? His coalition is falling apart, and he...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, worth noting. I did a video on the Australian election. Peter Dutton ran a horrible campaign. Like a truly terrible one. There's a real shot that had Trump not existed, even though Dutton was winning in the polls when I said this, he still could have choked it. He had a really bad final stretch. Tough to say, but the Trump thing definitely changed it. Had an impact.
Why not bring up that 2025 is going to be the year of nuclear?
True!
2025 is going to see a dramatic increase in interest, build-out, innovation, and restarting of nuclear projects.
Fucking
But first,
true.
let's go to Sweden.
Global nuclear power generation reached a historic high in 2025. All major nuclear stocks ballooned. Oklo, Kamiko, GE Fornova, fucking mixed basket of nuclear stocks was like, I think one of the single best performing sectors of the whole year. $566 billion rally. Billions flowed in the nuclear sector. However, as I mentioned in the stock review thing, I personally, even though I love nuclear as technology, have found this hype around it financially to be a little bit suspect, bro. I mean, some of these companies have actual revenue, but like Oklo is completely pre-revenue, bro. Up 227% though.
But I predict in 2025, the CDU talks about reopening its nuclear power plants.
All right, so I said talks about, bit of a weasel word. They obviously didn't reopen in the year. They did talk about it. They talked about it quite a bit. The most important thing they did, though, was this. This is actually huge. Germany's been a big drag on EU-wide nuclear energy rollout. They've been an opponent of it. They don't allow the legislation to be written for the EU to count nuclear power as clean energy. They dropped it this year, which is actually big for their relationship with France, but also big in general. It allows some of the clean energy money in EU legislation to go towards nuclear energy projects in other countries. It's big. It's actually a big deal. I'm super happy with this. And Friedrich Merz did announce plans for a nuclear fusion reactor, a significant reversal of its long-standing anti-nuclear energy stance. So this part is cool and true, but those reactors plants are not reopening. They're pretty much mothballed, and actually the cost to reopen them is like absurd. I don't even the technology or the expertise exists within country. However, outside of Germany, Japan this year, a few days ago, is preparing to restart the world's biggest nuclear plant 15 years after Fukushima. Pretty insane reversal from them. Japan, who actually dealt with the crisis that caused Germany to abandon their nuclear, is reversing course on it and reopening nuclear plants because of their energy security needs and the efficiency of it. It's pretty awesome. Huge W over in Japan for doing this.
2025, everyone knows AI. It's gonna change the world. Massive change. AI's on a tear to the moon, can't stop it. I think AI is a year we look around and find ourselves in a bit of a winter, a bit of an AI winter. This is a chart that applies to most major.
I think not true. I'm trying to remember what exactly I said. I think the part I like of this prediction is that I am very, very skeptical, particularly of AI agents. I remember all this hype around AI agents at the end of 2024. About how 2025 is going to be the year of these AI agents that can go out and do stuff for you. That has been completely untrue. You know, stock-wise and like financial bubble-wise, I would say it's still trucking along at full speed.
At this point, this is the main thing I'm seeing it used for. AI
True.
turns this single bullet point into a long email I could pretend I wrote. AI turns a single bullet point, or turns this long email into a single bullet point. People are just using.
I think the main uses I saw in 2025 from most people is obviously still cheating on a massive scale, and then a large amount of young people using it as like a life advisor. Those are the two things I saw it used for this year, neither of which are particularly good.
I found out my dad is using ChatGPT for performance reviews.
That's true.
If he's using it, everybody's using it. He's guy's old as shit, doesn't
That's
care.
true.
This
Dude,
does
I
not.
was in my dad's office recording those videos, and I saw he had used ChatGPT to write an angry letter about how he got overcharged for a drink on a cruise and sent that. And he like printed it out and mailed it in.
I mean, take a look at Meta. Meta's put more money into AI than anyone. They're trying desperate tactics to find some way to make it useful or to make their core product more productive.
I stand by this, but I think just a little early, to be honest. I think a little early. Like this boom or this bubble, whatever it is, has more legs to run. People are throwing a lot of money at this. I never know if I'm talking about this, if we're more in like a 96 or a 2000, you know, when it comes to this being parallel to the .com.
I think this stuff is catching up to people. I think this is an AI winter. I think we're in an era of like looking around and being like, man, most of this stuff sucks.
Okay. I'll say compared to 24, 25 was an AI winter for public perception of AI. I think people overall, if you ask them whether they like are positive or negative on the future of AI, fucking collapsed this year. I think it was way down. I think that is true, but financially not yet. I think a really good prediction that I wish I could have made here to understand the dynamics of Google versus OpenAI and to at least express the idea that maybe Google's inherent advantages would give them a huge leg up over OpenAI. That at least has become the big story this year. And I feel like that's something that you probably could have seen in January if you really thought about it. But I didn't. I sort of saw Google as more of a laggard.
There is one thing that can still happen though. We can create a vast AI-fueled surveillance system that will ensure citizens are on their best behavior. Like billionaire Larry.
Dude, I can't believe Larry Ellison said that. And we're going to give him TikTok. That's crazy. Give him TikTok, give his son every fucking media company.
In 2025, you're going to learn about it from podcasts. 2025 is going to be the year of the podcast.
Oh, a little bit of a self-dealing prediction. I might have known ahead of time that I was trying to put some wind in my sails, dude. A little bit of insider trading. Podcast consumption, though, did hit a record high this year. Most notably, this stat was touted a lot. 55% of the US above 12 population listened to a podcast in the last month. This has been December of 2025. That's a massive, massive increase. Podcasts have become a major source of news. Now, within the podcast industry, what's very interesting is that all podcasts are becoming YouTube videos, like this one. But in general, podcasts are becoming, they're going from an audio-only platform to a YouTube one. YouTube has actually already became the #1 platform for podcasts. I'm now in the podcast industry, and we have a podcast fucking media company, and they're telling us things they're working on. And they're like, yeah, one of our big challenges is getting all of our older podcast hosts to move to YouTube, because that's where all the ad money, that's where the growth is. That's where the new viewers is. That's where pretty interesting dynamic this year. Lemonade Stand, by the way, something I'm really happy and proud of this year. I got to do my dream interview with Lena Khan and then look absolutely fucking soy jack in the thumbnail. And I finally got to get in the New York Times pressing her on criticism. Fake news, New York Times. But yeah, big year for podcasts. This is true. I mean, this stat is still crazy. This is primetime CNN during the election versus Joe Rogan. 28x the reach. Yeah, I mean, in this year especially, calling it the mainstream media doesn't even make sense anymore. It's legacy media. And it's not necessarily a good thing, but it's a thing that's happened. I mean, just the idea that there's this competition between like social media and the mainstream media. If that's your competition, whether you like it or not, social media won. It's over. The battle is over. The war is over. Last Japanese soldiers still fighting. Like the vast, vast majority of Americans now get their news through social media. That's just happened. Whether it's podcasts, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, whatever. That is just where it's happening. And it's a pretty scary thought, but that's where we're at. Is that 2025 is going to be the year of indie games. Yeah! Possibly one of the greatest indie game years of all time. There's a perfect storm brewing. Dude, what a great fucking year for indie games, man. All time legendary year for indie games. Just a banger, You know, the one I'm thinking of most particularly is not even all the ones we're talking about. Like the one that really put this on my mind at the end of the year when I look back is like Peak. Dude, Peak was a game. A lot of these friend slop games, honestly, are doing better numbers than massive AAA studios with games they're making quickly. They're making games like Peak like on a whim. They have a small team, they have a good idea, they make it really quickly, and that shit is beating AAA. And it's happening not just like, oh, it's like a big game like Silksong. It's happening all the time now. And this year, I think, proved it. I mean, you know, next year might be a little different with GTA 6, but I think this is a major L year for the mainstream AAA gaming industry. They kind of just got crushed over and over and over. 2025 is going to be the year of soda. I caught some of you. Soda is on a comeback after literal decades of decline. In 2015, this article came out. It was basically dead. They were like, soda's over. Yeah, I'll talk about this. I sort of looked into this. I wanted to follow up on this prediction. Did soda have an upward trend in consumption in 2025? Sure. Coca-Cola had a demand recovery, but as I looked into it, a lot of the increase in the money to the soda industry this year was because they raised prices. They sold, it's hard to tell because they actually, to get up-to-date sales figures on soda for this year, you have to pay like $2,500 to get an actual, like, into one of these beverage research groups. I couldn't really get it. So my understanding is that they had a moderate increase in soda consumption, but way increase in prices. That's my understanding. There were some social media trends around soda, like dirty soda, which is, as far as I can tell, having an actual impact. Fast food companies are adding their own variations of dirty soda. This thing was big on TikTok. Like there is an increase in like these different types of soda. Dirty soda is taking over from 2025 to 2025. And if you count this as soda, like Olipop and Poppy, then it was kind of a year of soda. Both these had fantastic years. I think Poppy is the one that sold to Pepsi for, they sold Pepsi for $2 billion. Like classic soda had a relatively normal year. Like maybe it was up a little bit, but alternative soda had a pretty good year. And I think a big part of this, originally when the trend was starting in late 24, when I was talking about this, is people were kind of trading down from expensive coffee, which was getting more expensive. But actually, I think the real fire prediction would have been energy drinks, because the actual story of 2025 was not the year of soda. It really was the year of energy drinks. There was, all the energy drink stocks did fucking gangbusters, and a lot of people were drinking things like Celsius way more. And people often said it's because of value. They got the energy boost they needed, but for a way cheaper price than coffee or even soda. I mean, it's a year of caffeine in general. People are always boosting themselves, but I do think, Celsius was 10%, way above what Coca-Cola increased by, which is like 13%. Drinks like this were the big story 2025. Yeah, I'd give it like a C on that prediction. Like it's fine. Soda didn't decline, but I wouldn't call it like an incredible year for soda. Although I do think this stuff was a pretty big story. $2 billion from PepsiCo for this is a sign of like, oh, we missed the curve. 2025 is the year of the Kale phone. The Kale phone is a concept created by somebody I saw on Substack, I believe, as a solution to his addiction to his phone. He bought 2 phones. One of them is his regular phone, which he... So here's what I'll say. And all in all, no, didn't happen. But it really was more of a year of video essays about how we should quit our phones. When things like this happen in society, there are periods where we can't figure out what to do. And then eventually people start to develop antibodies. Yep. This is smokers. This wasn't legislation change. This was consumer attitude change. True. Over time, people started smoking less because they realized... I'm struggling to know if I would say this in 24, but like smoking has bounced back because of vaping. The main area that's starting to change in 2025 is schools will start banning phones more. Oh, a lot more. Oh, this was true. Oh, yeah. This is fucking true. Okay, so I think the overall Kale phone thing, it's kind of a nebulous prediction. It's a wash. I would say also like a C. People did try it. I think people are trying and talking about it more this year, but of course they are. But if they don't make any substantive change, it's not really a big thing. But people banning phones in schools. By December 2025, 37 US states, including California, Florida, and Texas, have enacted laws or executive orders restricting or banning cell phones in K-12 classrooms. Yeah, I mean, this is actually a pretty big year for this. They've done some double-blind studies now. It works. And even the students say it works. A large urban district in Florida saw an increase in student test scores. A smaller school district in California is experiencing a dramatic decline in student behavioral problems. Students were using their phones to plan bathroom vaping meetups, gossip sessions, and fights. Sounds kind of based. So I would say this is a big thing this year, was people trying to ban. Although one thing, I don't mention, I think, in the predictions video, but I thought we would have a TikTok restriction this year because it passed the House and the Senate and nobody cared. They just didn't do it. And now instead we're going to have it owned by Larry Ellison. In 2025 is the year of the sports betting hangover. This is Friday in Vegas. We are killing the youth of America. After just unbanning gambling, there's already calls to ban. All right, so I looked at this. Well, our opinions on gambling changed in America this year, 2025. And, surprise, surprise, Americans, when polled in 24, were more positive. But now they increasingly see legal sports betting as a bad thing for society and for sports. Public opinion on legal sports betting is souring. But I want to say this. I don't know what I said in the original prediction, but just to be clear, that doesn't mean people are gambling less. It just means that we are more mad at gambling. People are gambling more than ever. If anything, this year was an incredible banner year for sports gambling because it became part of prediction markets. I am just saying that the public opinion on it has become super negative. People thought they would like it when it was unbanned, when it was banned getting unbanned. But after spending some time in it, it's just ruining lives. Sports betting has ruined the fun of sports. Now there's constant accusations of cheating. The incentives are horrible for players and coaches. People in the crowds are screaming at players because they fucked up their parlay. The rise of sports betting is a growing public health crisis becoming aware this year. Gambling apps are ensnaring millions of young men. I tried to mention this in the last half of my interview with Gavin Newsom, but I truly, truly believe this. When I look especially at young men, the number one thing fucking them over financially is, for them, not buy now, pay later. It's actually sports gambling. You tried to talk about it, but you kept getting distracted by Hitman. Yeah. Gavin kept asking me what I thought about sports gambling, and I said, bro, I just want to talk about Hitman. Can I tell you about how you can get a world record on Sapienza using triple shot? That's all I would go into. Yeah, I truly think this was a horrible, horrible year for the well-being and the mental health and the financial well-being of young men through sports gambling. And of course, Americans are increasingly concerned about betting on sports. People are seeing a lot of the negatives. They're seeing every fucking show they watch, every piece of sports content be rammed, filled with gambling ads nonstop, and not seeing so much of the benefit. If you make a smart bet, even if you lose the bet,
they will ban you. They have algorithms that have figured out anyone who's not an idiot, and they are constantly adapting to make sure that nobody can win. Of the 700,
You know, an interesting thing, obviously, story of this year was people moving their sports gambling from these apps to the prediction markets like Kalshi, Polymarket, and Robinhood. I didn't predict that, but that would have been an interesting thing to pick up on. Possibly something you could have foreseen or talked about. Really big story this year, and I think it could be partially because the sports gamblers would be looking for a place where they don't get banned for being right.
the 3% of bettors who lost the most, the whales, were half of the revenue. All of society is coming together to find this 3% and absolutely destroy them. Destroy them financially, ruin their lives financially. It was cool. It was fun in 23.
I do think that. I think that not just for gambling. I think that now that, like, if you have an addictive personality in any way, the entire world is set out to destroy you from dawn till dusk at all times. If you are not able to, if you have any weakness in your brain around that, it's like you are just being under a constant assault, a D-Day assault on the beach of your mind.
I think 2025 is the year of confusion. Whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's AI, whether it's who's our allies, people are confused. I think the ground is shifting on so many things so quickly that people have a tough time keeping up. They don't even know where to get true information from. There's so many sources.
The Big A channel.
One thing, and I think it's making people meaner. Understand that you might be feeling some stress about this confusion. Maybe you're struggling to find a job, or maybe you're worried about AI taking your job, or you're worried about the politics, and maybe it's making you a little meaner. It might be nice to try kindness first.
I did.
There's absolutely no way.
I tried it first. Hate to post this right after a crash out, bro. Hate to post this right after a crash out.
We're getting through all this without some kind of dialogue, bro. When you catch me in 2 weeks yelling at a chatter, remind me of this. I'm gonna try, dude. Last thing I want to say. This one,
you guys did remind me of this all year. This is a very, very hard. This is more of a manifesto than a prediction, but it was hard to fulfill. I do think, I'm speaking candidly, I made a sincere effort this year to be more kind to my friends and family. And the kindness I'm thinking of is not about like, oh, you're so sweet, or being nice to them. It's like about respecting their time. I'm saying friends and family, not chatters or my mods, which I have been terrible with, or my employees even, which I've been terrible with. I'm sorry. But I have been, like, I always respond to texts from, I don't even say always, but I've been calling my mom like every week, all year, like, for example, and I didn't do that last year. I've been hanging out more in friends in person and not like blowing it off just to go live. Like, I've been doing more things. Those are things I've been trying to work on because I feel like sometimes your attention and your time is kindness. And I really want to work on this more this year. Because sometimes I used to be a guy where a kindness would be one big grand gesture, like doing something big or getting someone a gift or but I'm sort of realizing that kindness is like being more present. Yeah, and putting more time in when you can. Obviously, you have to fucking balance that out. So,
but this is the year of you. I'm stealing Time Magazine's thing. 2025.
Okay, so last one, year of you. Guys, give me a review. I can't guess this prediction. You have to tell me. How was it? How was it? A through F. How was the year of you? I kind of give a speech here about how you can change your life or make serious changes to your life in 6 months.
If you sit down and focus on a few things you can control, you can change your life in 6 months, let alone a year. So I think 2025 can actually be your year, bro. I think you can do it. And that is my predictions for.
How was it? So your year, I saw some B pluses, I saw some Fs, I saw some As. Wherever you landed, maybe it's, every 6 months is a new chance, bro. I personally think there's some ups, there's some downs this year. I feel good about some things. I feel pretty strong about it. Overall, it's fun. It's hard in a year like this to extricate how I felt about the year as a whole and how I feel about my personal life. When they were so, I covered news every day. I felt really bad about the world in 2025. But I felt pretty good about progress I made on my goals. So it's difficult to say, but I'm seeing a lot of answers in chat. I think it's good to review stuff like this. I hope you enjoyed looking back at my predictions from last year. I feel like I feel pretty good about these, but the ones I missed on, I really was happy to review because I think there's a lot of learnings there that I could try to pull into my predictions for next year. And I enjoyed looking back. Hopefully we can have one of these where the predictions are more positive. And they come true too. I do think that'll happen. I don't know exactly when, but I know that year's coming. It's gonna come, and we're building towards it. So guys, appreciate you watching, and looking forward to 26. We'll see what we can do.